Hello, everyone. Welcome to Gossipwood City. Hello, everybody. I've missed y'all. Well, as you already know, that things have been happening in my life, and also just being busy with other stuff. But anyways, I don't want to give too many excuses, guys. There is a I don't know if I call this a story or just an unfortunate event that is happening in the Nigerian parliament. I, I, I'm shocked but not shocked, surprised but not surprised, if you know what I mean. Where a bunch of men, they think that they have the authority on a woman's body. And when the woman stands up for her right, she gets suspended from her job because they all want to cover up for this particular individual simply because this individual holds the leadership of the Senate of the Nigerian parliament. I think at this point it is the I don't know how they call it, Senate president or Senate president, I think, by a surname of Akpabio or something like that. And this woman, from what I have been following, she has been vilified by the Senate president for the longest time. There was I remember this story being reported, I think sometime last year, June, July, where the same Senate president, when okay, I'm sorry, I'm going to be butchering. This is calling Natasha. Senate Natasha. Operative word here is Senate. Okay, I'll get to that why I'm saying Senate. So she stood up and said something in the chambers, and then the Senate president actually insulted her and said this is not a nightclub, insinuating that the Senate Natasha or Senator Natasha, we don't have senators in South Africa, so please forgive me. Senator Natasha, she was making, apparently she's been trying to table a bill or an investigation into an oil plant in Nigeria, I think in her district, Kogi district or something like that. And so this Senate president has been basically trying to run away from this issue of the matter being investigated because I think it employs about 1,600 people there just to maintain the plantation. And it's been there for the past 40 years and unused. If you look at it, it's so great. I'm going to try and insert it here on the video so you can see what exactly she's trying to do here, because this will provide not only jobs for her province, for a lack of a, I don't know, they call it states, for a state, as well as other beneficiaries that the people of that state are going to get. And no, they're suppressing her. So when she made an application or submission of some sort, the Senate president told her this is not a nightclub, basically insinuating that she's an ashao. You know, if what's in a shower, I think I can't say the word on YouTube. Basically, I'm pronouncing it, something like that. Okay. And so she made a complaint about that, and to a point where Nigerians stood on Natasha's side, and then he made a very weak apology. Okay, ever since she made that complaint, the Senate president has made sure that he shuts her voice down, including the submission that she's trying to make about an investigation of that plantation. And now, apparently, according to Natasha, she was advised by other senators that, you know what, you need to approach the Senate president in his chambers and then present this case that you want him to have investigated. And she did that when she got to the chambers. And then the Senate president made a remark like, listen, I don't have a problem with what you are bringing to the table for me to look at and also sanction investigations. The only thing that will make me do that is if you make me happy. I know some people go like, but that does not mean anything. Come on. And if you're a man, just don't. Because you and I know what that means. So she kind of like ignored that remark up until the Senate president now started becoming very apparent what is make me happy, inverted commas, basically means. And then she said, I am sorry, Senate President, but you are a married man and I'm also a married woman. And there is no way that what is rightfully belonging to the people of her state, now she has to lie on her back to get it. This is unethical. This is SA. Yeah, is it SA? Yeah, this is SA. Once again, YouTube. If you don't know what SA mean, not South Africa, it's something to do with cloth, but without the other person's will type of situation. So then she took the matter and then she went and reported that the Senate president has SA'd her, or mostly more like a harassment, not an essay, harassment. And so as a result of that, her matter, or her a petition as they call it, was submitted to the ethics committee, and you will not believe who is the head or chairman of that ethics committee. Apparently, it's some guy who used to be an attorney in New York City, and he was disbarred. And when he was disbarred, he went back to Nigeria. And then, if you look at his credentials, this is allegations on this part. If you look at his credentials, as he is the chairperson of the ethics committee of the Nigerian parliament, he says he has a practice in New York City. He's a lawyer and he has an LLB degree. Okay, fine, he might still have an LLB degree, but in New York, he is not allowed to practice. Basically, he's not allowed to practice in America. He cannot practice the law in America. So he comes to Nigeria. He doesn't tell Nigeria that, well, the reason why he is no longer in New York is because this part is not allowed to practice. And he hid that. Now, because of all these things happening, the man that actually wrote a suspension letter, that one who was disbarred in New York, basically broke the rules of parliament. If you suspend a representative, it is for 14 days. But with Natasha, for 6 months. Not only she is going to be suspended for 6 months, but she is also going to lose her security detail. She's going to lose vehicles that she utilizes. She will lose the house that is allocated to her as a senator. She's going to lose basically all those beneficiaries, including her salary, for 6 months. And she's also not allowed to refer herself as a senator inside Nigeria and outside of Nigeria. She is just going to be Natasha, that surname that I cannot quite pronounce. All right. Now, Natasha was like, oh, okay. All right. Because Nigeria is part of the United Nations. Remember, in September, October, Nigeria tried to be a part of the Human Rights Commission, but nobody voted for Nigeria because of human rights violations. Yeah, at that time, they had babies in jail, kids 13 all the way down to 5 years old. They were imprisoned because in August, they were marching for a better life. They said that they wanted to overthrow the government. Imagine 13-year-old and 5-year-old kids, they wanted to overthrow Tinubu's government. Anyways, so the video that I'm going to show you now is of Natasha in the United Nations. I think it's called UNIPU. That's the committee that she is now reporting the Senate president, not only the Senate president, but the indictment on Nigeria when it comes to women. Can you imagine? There are only 4, now it's 3. It was 4 female senators in that parliament. Now that with her being suspended for 6 months, it's now 3 out of 100 and something, 113 of them are male. So this is the stuff that she's brought to the United Nations because I think this is a right move that she made because nobody's going to listen to her in Nigeria, because even her fellow women in the Senate stood against her. Nobody stood up for her, not even one man. In fact, all the men came to her and said, just apologize and all of this is going to go away. She says she's not going to apologize. She wants justice. And I am in support of her 100%. So I don't know what the consequences are going to be, because now she's at the highest body that Nigeria is a part of, where human rights as well as gender rights are custodians of the United Nations, as well as governments and all that stuff, because Nigeria attends United Nations meetings and is also part of the United Nations anyways. So here she is coming to say, well, I'm here for help. This is the only last resort that she has outside of the United States. And as she sits inside this UN committee meeting, she can't even address herself as Senator Natasha. So seemingly the people in this committee are in support of her. Let's see what happens going forward. This is an indictment on Nigerians for real. An indictment until the good Nigerians stand up and fight for her. But to be fair, I've been watching videos of male Nigerians standing with Natasha, and then they're exposing the chairman's own state and region where roads are dilapidated. They got potholes as huge as a vehicle, but he's got time to be suspending Natasha. Same goes with Senate President, where he comes from as well. Clearly, the monies that they're supposed to be using to improve the lives of Nigerians, they have no care for it, but they care about removing a woman that is being vilified simply because she wants an investigation on a particular establishment that has been lying as a white elephant for the past 40 years. It's an indictment. And I feel like every Nigerian should stand behind Natasha. This lady, if Nigerians are not, if your eyes, guys, are closed, you are looking at a president here in Natasha. I'm telling y'all, you are looking at a president. If you are looking for a president, I present you your own Natasha Agboti. Please open your eyes. Right there. So whatever feelings that you may have, you are doing it against your own interests. If you feel like what she's doing is wrong, then you are doing it against your own interests. Yeah, I'm just letting you know. I'm from the outside looking in, and I'm saying, hey, I'm seeing a leader in Natasha. Mark it in your heads. Emerge her. Talk about her. Campaign for her for presidency of the Republic of Nigeria. I believe your problems will be half solved. This is a woman of integrity. This is a woman of credibility. And this is a leader that I'm seeing. Take it up. All right. Anyways, here's the video. And we'll see each other at some other time. Bye.
Good afternoon, President of the IPU. Good afternoon, colleagues. I come with a heavy heart from Nigeria, but first I'd like to apologize to Honorable Kafila Ogbara. I am not here to bring shame to our country. I'm here to seek help for the women of Nigeria. Again, my name is Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan. 5 days ago, on the 6th of March 2025, I was suspended. As a senator, I was suspended illegally because I submitted a petition of sexual harassment against the President of the Nigerian Senate, Senator Godswill Akpabio. I thought that by submitting the petition, he would recuse himself, and both of us would submit ourselves to the Committee on Ethics, Privileges and Public Petition for a fair and transparent investigation. But unfortunately, I was silenced and I was suspended. I was suspended for 6 months, amongst many other stringent conditions, such as taking away my security, taking away all the officials, vehicles, and other items that were handed over to me as a senator. My salaries will be cut off. I must not appear anywhere near the National Assembly. And for 6 months, I'm not to introduce myself or present myself as a senator locally in Nigeria or internationally. That means I'm here illegally, but I had no other place to go but to come here and speak to you women, because this is a bigger picture. This is a bigger picture. It depicts the crisis of women political representation. My suspension is not just about me. It's about the systemic exclusion of women from political leadership in Nigeria. Women make up 3.6% of political offices, and in the Senate, it's just 2.8. We have 109 men, and only 4 of us are women. So right now, it's 108 with only 3 women. This is a clear case of political victimization, punishment for speaking out against impunity, corruption, and gender-based violence. The United Nations Declaration 48/104 declares sexual harassment as a form of gender violence. The Senate's actions are an assault on democracy. I was elected by my constituents to represent them. Yet a few powerful men have unilaterally decided to silence their voices by suspending me for 6 months. My call for an open and transparent investigation into harassment allegations have been met with hostility instead of accountability. If a female senator can be treated this way in the full view of the world, imagine what ordinary Nigerian women will go through every day in workplaces, in universities, and other aspects of our society. A culture of harassment and silencing must end. And this is not just a Nigerian issue. It's a global one. Women in politics, media, and businesses face threats, intimidation, and violence for simply demanding fairness. From sex for grades scandals in universities to harassment in workplaces and political spaces, Nigerian women have constantly been forced into silence. We need stronger legal protections and a zero culture tolerance for gender-based discrimination and intimidation. My call to the international community is such that the world must not stay silent as democracy and women's rights are rolled back in Nigeria. I call on human rights organizations, women movements, and democratic institutions to hold the Nigerian Senate accountable. Nigeria needs global partners to push for women's political inclusion, safety, and protection from political harassment. You may ask, what are my next steps? I will resist the political intimidation. In the past few days, a number of my colleagues, my male colleagues, have reached out to me and said, Natasha, all you need to do is apologize and retract your statements. And I told them I am not going to apologize. I will not apologize for my truth. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I told them that I will stand the 6-month suspension, and the very first day I return, I will represent my petition on sexual harassment. And I will continue doing so until there is a fair and transparent investigation. I will fight, thank you. I will fight this injustice and continue to represent my constituents, whether the Senate wants to hear me or not. I will work with women's group, civil society, and legal teams to ensure that this unconstitutional suspension is quashed. This is bigger than me. This is about ensuring that no other woman in politics or public office will ever be silenced again. Thank you so much.